Hey guys, welcome back to Wix Fix. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and if you're not, I hope this video will help. Now today I'm going to be teaching you the fundamentals of web design. Now many of you know how important it is to have a really nice website. If you have an amazing product but your website looks like this, people will subconsciously relate your product to your website. So even if your product is really amazing, then most likely you're going to lose out on a lot of sales. So today I'm going to be walking you through my design process from turning your website that looks like this to something like this. So for today's tutorial, I'm going to be redesigning a website for an amazing photographer. This is his current website, and as you can see here, it is a little on the basic side. However, this is a photography portfolio, so it doesn't really need to be anything more than basic. But there are several things that we can do here to make it look a little bit better. So the first thing in my web design process is planning. I know this might not seem like a fun thing to do, but it helps you compare yourself to your competitors, it helps you find your target audience and learn how you actually should be targeting them. And then I also like to plan out my sitemap, which is basically your pages and your sections on those pages. So this will help you get an idea for everything that you're going to need to put on your website. Now this is a free branding worksheet I have on my website, so it'll be the first link in the description below. Also in this tutorial, I will be moving a little fast. So if you're new to Wix, I did upload a Wix editor basics, and it's about a 10-minute video that'll teach you everything you need to know for this video. So that link will be in the description below as well. So I suggest if you are new, pause this video, go watch it, and then come back to this one. So after you fill out your branding worksheet, now we can start thinking about design. Now, what I like to do is you can either look at your competitors' websites, or you can also go to a couple websites like Awards, or even HTTPS TER, which is kind of like a weird way to say hipster. And these two websites are really cool websites to get inspiration. Now these are like top trending websites of today, so you can definitely get some really cool ideas for how you want to go with your design on your website. So let's say one of these websites has a really cool section, you can most likely recreate that within Wix. So now that you've filled out your worksheet and you have found some good inspiration, now it is time to start designing. Now for this tutorial, I'm only going to be doing the home page because the home page is going to be enough for me to teach you the fundamentals of design, and you can use these fundamentals with the rest of your pages. So the first thing you want to do is create your pages. So if we go back to our worksheet and we go down to the sitemap, we're going to see the pages that we're going to create. So let's go home, about, portfolio, services, and contact. So let's go back, we'll do home. Great, now that we have our pages, we're all set to go. We'll go back to the home page. The next thing I really like to do is come down to our theme manager, and we can choose our colors and we can choose our text. Now, if you are not sure about what text and colors you plan to use, this would be a great time to go look at your inspiration and get some ideas. Also look at your competitors and see what they're doing. So if your competitors are using a bold font, maybe you should use some sort of bold font as well. If they're using, specific colors, then I would use something similar. Or if you have a logo already and it already comes with some colors, maybe you can use those colors and maybe use those fonts as well. Now, I don't recommend using more than 2 to 3 colors on your website, and I don't recommend using more than 2 fonts on your website. Now, what you can do is use different variations of a font. So for heading 1, I might choose to bold it, and then heading 2, I might leave it as normal. So it gives the impression that there are different fonts. However, for the user, it's going to subconsciously flow better when you're only using 1 to 2 fonts. If you want to use 2 fonts, a great thing to do is maybe for like a header, you can use something quirky, and then for the paragraphs, use something more basic. That way, when you pair them together, it looks really clean. For this website, we plan to use this color. There we go. And then for the text, we plan to use a font called Montserrat. So we'll do Montserrat, medium, and then we'll press apply. Okay, now that we have our text and colors set up correctly, we can actually start the design of our website. Now this is going to be our artboard. Anything you put in between this line and this line is going to be responsive no matter if the user is on a laptop or a big widescreen monitor. And if they're on a widescreen monitor, anything in between these two lines is honestly just going to seem squished. What we actually want to do is optimize this design to fit laptops and larger monitors. So in order to do that, we're actually going to add something called a strip. So we'll go to add, strip, classic, and we'll bring out this white one right here. Now what a strip is, it's a container that stretches the full width of your website. Now you're initially going to see that it still has these two lines. However, if we press layouts right here, we can do add column. Now you're going to see that there is a line in the middle. And if we click the left column, you're going to see this has its very own two lines that we can put content in, and it will be responsive across different desktop sizes. Now what I want to do is press layouts again and align the content to the left. And I'm going to select the right column, press layouts, and align this one to the right. Now if we click in on the column, we can put content to the left of this line and it'll still be responsive, and the exact opposite for this side. So anything on the right of this line will be responsive for the user. Now what I'm going to do is remove the background color because it is a faint gray. So we'll do change column background, go into settings and lower the opacity. And we'll do the same thing for the left side. And then what this strip is going to be our header, which a header is our navigation bar. So it's where you put your logo and you put links to your other pages. So if we look at the header and we look at the toolbar, you're going to see the height of the header is about 111. So we're going to click this column or the strip that we created, and we're going to make this height 111 as well. Next, we can drag this strip into the header, and you're going to see the header highlight and say attach to header, and then if you release, you're all good. Now what we can do is add a logo, and for this one I'm going to do text. We'll bring out a heading 4, and we will paste in the photographer's name, and then this is quite big, so I'm going to lower this down to about 18. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and drag it into the header, and specifically into that column that we created. And again, we're going to put it on the left side of this line. Now I'm going to show you another trick. So if we select the column, we press stretched, you're going to see that this stretches the entire width of the screen. However, we can put margins on the left and right. So let's put about 80 pixel margin. There we go. So what this is going to do is add space on the left and the right. And obviously that's going to shorten the space that we can put content in. However, if we do this for each strip on the entire site, everything is going to be aligned up to the same exact area on the screen, and it looks really clean. Next, let's go ahead and add a navigation bar or the pages. So we'll go ahead and press add. We'll go down to menu, and we'll just drag out this basic one right here. I'll shrink it down a little bit so it fits into our lines. And then we'll go ahead and edit the design by pressing the little paintbrush, customize design. And here we can basically do whatever we want. So I'm going to go in text and make sure it's the same font as what we have set up. And in this case, it is not. So we're going to do Montserrat. And then we're going to choose a font size of about 14. And then I really don't want the home in our menu because we're already going to be on the home. And if you've ever noticed other sites, they rarely ever include a home button. They typically just make sure the logo links back to the home page. So what we're going to do is remove home page. So we'll press manage menu. We'll press this 3 dots right here and press hide. Now let's go back into the design and make sure that everything else looks clean. So we're going to go to hover, and it's going to choose this color right here, and then click. Let's do something dark like this one. Okay, there we go. And then we can shrink this up quite a bit as well. Now, if you do want to link your logo to home, if it's a text logo, you can just select it press this link icon, press page and go home. Now if you do that, it's going to have an underline. So what I do is Command A and I remove the underline. But when a user clicks this, it's going to link them back to the home page. Now let's say you have an image logo. There is going to be this little link icon right here. And then you can just select the page, home, and then press done. And then you're all good. Next, let's go ahead and design our footer as well. And we'll do the same process that we did for this top navigation bar. So we'll do add, strip. Let's bring out the black one. Next, let's go ahead and make the design of the footer black as well. So we're gonna remove the center background and we'll make the background black. Next, let's go to stretched, add an 80 pixel margin, and then let's go to layouts, add column. And again, we're going to press layouts again, align the left one to the left, and align the right one to the right. We also need to change these backgrounds to black because this is actually a dark gray. Now we can actually change the height of the footer. So let's do something like 500 just for fun. We'll drag the strip down until you see a move to footer option. We'll click that. You're gonna hear a little bloop noise, and then we can go ahead and raise the column up to the top of the footer. And here we can start putting in our content. So for this footer design, I re-put in his logo. I put in a little description about him, and I put in his social bars. And then on the right side, I put a little navigation to his other pages. So now that we have a decent footer design, we're gonna go ahead and make the height a little smaller of that strip that we have. And then we're gonna raise up the footer as well. So this is going to be our footer for the entire website. Okay, now that we have the header and the footer complete, let's go ahead and focus on the page content. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring out another strip. Now it is good practice to basically put everything that you put on your site in a strip. Now, of course, there are some elements that won't work in a strip, but for this tutorial, we're only going to be using stuff that will. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove that off-white color and make it white. Then I'm going to add the 80 pixel margins. That way it's aligned up with our logo, just like we want. And then I'm going to add a column, and then I'll make this one aligned to the left. And I'm actually going to leave this one centered. And the cool thing about strips is you can change the column widths. If we press layouts, you're going to see customized proportions. So if we go to 70-30, you're going to see that this strip got bigger and then this strip is smaller, which is exactly what we want. But maybe for this example, this is a little too much space, so maybe we'll do 60-40. And then we're actually going to make the height of this strip about 250. Here we're going to place in some text. So since this is the first text that your user is going to read, we want to use a heading 1. And we'll drag this over, and then we can edit the text to say what we want. So when coming up with text to put here, just keep in mind that you want to say something that your users want to hear, not necessarily what you want to tell them. So in other words, you don't want to tell them who you are, you want to tell them what you offer them. Next, I want to add some text and a button over here. This is just some text I grabbed from his current website, and then I made this little learn more button. So if we go to button, and we drag out this button right here, and do edit design, do customize design. You can remove the fill. You can add a 1 pixel border. We can make the border black. And then if we go down to text, we can make sure it's the right font, and then we can change the color to black. And then if we go to hover, you'll see the design of it. But for this one, we're gonna make this one black. And then right here, you can do change text. So for this, we use learn more. And then right here, you can add a link to another page or to whatever you want. The next thing that we want to add is a giant image. So let's go over here to add. We'll do strip, and we can bring out the black or white one. It doesn't really matter since we're going to be changing it to an image anyway. And then we want this to be a huge image. So we're actually going to make the height about 800. And then of course we want to add the 80 pixel margins to it. And then here, we're actually going to do change strip background, and we'll choose an image. Now, if you don't have images to use, you can choose media from Wix or Unsplash. These are both really high quality stock images that you can use for free on your website. But for this scenario, we are going to have our own files. So what we can do is press upload media, and I'm just going to drag in all of the photos I plan to use on this website. And for this section, I'm going to use this one right here. And that looks really clean. However, what we can do to it to add a little more pizzazz is click the image, do background scroll effect, and choose parallax. So now when we scroll, you're going to see the background image move slower than the foreground, and it looks really clean. So now we are on to our next section. However, I kind of want to add a little bit of separation in between them. So what I'm going to do is press add, strip, and we'll drag out this white one. And we'll remove the color for it. And then let's say we'll make the height about 120. And then we're also going to add a line. So we'll go to add decorative and line. We'll drag this out, and you can make this like a ridiculous width like this, and then just press this align tool and align it to the center. So now you can kind of see it kind of gives a little bit of separation between the image and the next section. So let's go ahead and add the next section. So we'll do add, strip, we'll bring this down. This one is actually going to be an about section. So let's do change strip background, or remove the color, or make it plain white. We're going to add the margins of 80 pixels. Next, we are going to choose a layout. We'll do add column. We'll choose the left column, align it to the left. And then if we click off of it, click it again and press layouts. Here, we're actually going to customize proportions. So for this one, I think we are going to do 70-30. And then we're going to make the height of this like 600. Maybe 800. Go. And on this left side, I want to add an image. So we'll do customize image background, image, choose site files. And since this is an about us section, I'm going to use an image of the photographer and his tools. And then on the left side, I want to add some text. Now something to note, you don't want to add more than one heading 1 per page. Not only is the heading 1 supposed to be like the biggest font on the page to grab the attention of your users, but it also affects your SEO with search engines. So just keep that in mind. You can basically have as many heading 2s through 6s as you want, but just keep that in mind that you only want one heading 1. So this section is going to be the about section. And then down here, we're going to add some more text about our photographer and a button to the about page. And we're going to stick this right at the very bottom of this section. This is our site so far, and it looks really nice. So the next thing I want to do is just copy this section and this line right here. So we're going to copy it. We're going to come right here and press paste. We're going to lower these down to the bottom. Now we can add another section below, and it's consistent with the design up here. Okay, for the next section, I kind of want to add a little previews to this photographer's portfolio. So we're going to go up here. We're going to copy this section right here. So Command C. We'll bring it down here, press paste, which is Command V. And then we're going to lower this down to right underneath this separation strip. And then we can say, check out my work. And then here you can put whatever text that you want to put and a link to your full portfolio or whatever page you want. Next, we're going to add another strip. We're going to make this one about 600 high. Maybe 500. We're going to remove the background color. And we're actually going to add 3 columns for this one. So we'll do 1, and we'll do it again, and then press manage columns, and we'll add another column. Next thing we need to do is add our margins, so 80 pixel margins, and then let's press layouts again. We'll scroll down to the bottom, and we'll add 24 pixels of spacing. Now what you're going to notice is that's going to add spacing in between our columns. Next, what we want to do is change the background. So we'll choose this column, do change column background to an image, and we'll choose one of our images from our list, and we'll keep doing that for each one of these. Next, I want to add some text over this image that will also link to the page it's supposed to go to. So what I'm going to do is press this column, layouts, and align it to the left. And I'm going to do that for each one of these. And then we're going to bring down the text straight to the bottom left, And then if you hold your shift and arrow keys, you can actually move the text or any elements on your page at an increment of 10 pixels. And I went ahead and added this text to all of the images here. Now let's say you have really bright images and the text isn't really showing up too well. What you can do is click at the background, change column background, and go into the settings. Here you can change the background color to something dark, and you can lower the image opacity to whatever you want. That way the image still shows, but the text will pop out a little bit more. For this example, the text seems to be okay, so we'll leave it as is. And the next thing I want to do is add a little separation between the next strip and this one right here. I'll paste it here, and I'll bring it down. And then I'm gonna go ahead and delete the line that's in it. And I'm actually going to lower the height a little bit as well. And the last strip that we're going to create for this website is going to be a strip with the logos of his previous clients. So let's start by adding a strip. And then as you can see, sometimes when you bring out a strip, it's going to place it in between some strips. So to fix that, all you really have to do is press this zoom out and reorder. We'll go down to the bottom, and you're going to see on the right side, there's going to be move up and move down. We'll just move this one down, and then we can do exit mode at the top right. And this one, we're not gonna add our margins that we have been doing. We're just gonna leave this one as is. We're gonna change the background to a light color like this one. And we're gonna make the height of this one about 500. And now I'm gonna be showing you a new technique where we can stack strips on top of each other. So let's do add. We'll bring out a classic strip. We're going to change the background strip and remove the color. And we're gonna make the height of this one about 100, and we're gonna pop this on top. Now, let's go ahead and add the margins to this one. So we'll do 80% margins, and we will align this one to the left. And next, we're gonna add some text to this section right here. And we'll align it to the left so that it lines up with everything else on our website. Next, we're gonna add another strip. We're gonna add our margins. We're gonna press layouts, add column, and then we'll do manage column and add 2 more. Then we'll go to layouts and we'll add 24 pixels spacing. Next, let's go ahead and change the background to an image. And I uploaded some logos of some of his previous clients. So what we're gonna do is just use some of those. Okay, and then we're gonna shrink this down a little bit. And since these are PNGs, we can actually change the background color if we go into settings. And we'll change the background color to something a little bit darker, but we're going to change the color of the background to about 30. And we'll do that for the rest of these. Okay, now that we have changed all of the colors and placed in all our images, now we can just drag this one up on top of this other strip that we created. So now you can just play with the spacing to see what seems the most natural. And there we go. Now we have a really nice responsive website for desktop. Now you're not quite done yet. Now we have to go into the mobile editor and make sure it looks really nice on mobile. Now if you go to the top left of your editor, you're going to see desktop and mobile. So we'll click over to mobile, and this is what we're going to see. Wix tries its best to create something that you want to look like, but it never really works out quite right. So what you actually need to do is edit your mobile website to look similar to your desktop. So for this one, I'm going to lower font size to 14 pixels. Next, I'm going to bring in this mobile menu and put it up here on the top. Since the mobile menu automatically gets rid of our navigation menu from the desktop and puts it into a slide out menu, we no longer need this column right here. So we'll press hide element, and then we'll raise the header up to the recommended size. Okay, and then next we can just kind of center these up. And what I like to do is keep everything 20 pixels away from the right and left side. So we'll bring these over to the left side, use our shift and right arrow key 2 times, and I'll do the same thing for the menu. And then if we do edit menu, it's going to show us what it looks like, which to me, that looks just fine. So I'm going to close the menu back up. Next thing we need to do is mess with the sizing of everything else on the page. We can lower it a little bit if you want to, but since it's the first heading on the page, I think it looks pretty nice. However, this size, I typically go for about 13 pixels, and the button is huge. Now, when you look at it on the desktop editor, it's going to look fine. But if you publish your website and pull it up on your phone, some things are going to look really weird or out of place. So I suggest after you're done editing your site, go ahead and press publish, pull it up on your mobile phone and see what it looks like, and then adjust accordingly. For buttons, I typically lower the font size to 13, and I change the width to about 100 and the height to about 35. Next, this is our main image. So I'm going to lower this one to about 250. And if you wanted to, you could actually bump this up to the top just so the users see this first. But for this example, I'm just going to leave it below. Now, sometimes you're going to see a bunch of random space, and Wix actually notices this. So what you can do is come over to the right and press delete space, and it'll automatically do that for you. Now, the next strip that we have is our separation design element strip that we created. And to be honest, for mobile, we really don't need that. So we're just going to hide this strip altogether. Now for this section, if you press settings, you can change the font size, color, you can change the alignment or enable vertical text, which I don't really want to do for this example, but I am going to lower the font size to about 30. Of course, I'm going to make sure the font size of this paragraph text is 13. Perfect. And then this one seems like it's 13 and the width and height is perfect as well. So after we've done with the about section, we can come down to this section right here, which again, we don't really need these separation design elements. So we can do hide element. And then we'll also delete this mini space right here. We'll go ahead and make sure this one is 30 pixels. And we'll make sure this one is 13 pixels, and the width is 135. Now if you're going to notice, we put these in two different columns, but if we look up here, this is the same column with about 15 pixel difference, but this one's probably more like 40 or 50 pixel of space. So what we're going to do is move this one down a little bit. We're going to pull this one down into this column, and we will give it the proper space, and then we'll go ahead and remove this top column. There we go. Now the design looks more consistent with the about section. Okay, this next section is the strip with his work. So what we're going to do is make sure that these column heights are about 150 each. So we'll click each one, change the height to 150. And sometimes stuff will go back behind other columns or strips. So we'll just click the strip that's on top and move it down for now. We'll move it back up later. We'll continue editing the strip height. I still want there to be a little bit of space, so we'll do just layouts and do column spacing. We'll do about 12. And then I still want the text at the bottom, so we'll do that for each one of these. The next section is our logo section. So we're going to go ahead and press delete space. We'll drag up this as seen on to this strip right here. And then we'll go ahead and hide this one because we don't really need it. Next, we want to make sure this strip is huge. We will shorten this up later, but for now we'll do like 2000. And the next thing we need to do is edit these strips. So the height for these need to be about 200. And then we're going to do the same thing we did with this strip right up here and add a little spacing. And we'll drag this strip up to about right here. Now we can change this strip height so it's not so long by clicking it and dragging this little arrow icon up. And there we go. Here is our website for mobile. So now we can go ahead and press save and publish. And don't forget to look at your website on mobile to make sure everything looks right. But as far as web design goes, this is the fundamentals. It's mainly about keeping your fonts and colors to a minimum and making sure that there is enough space in between all your designs to keep everything from looking too scrunched together. It's also about consistency. So as you can see here, we kept everything at an 80 pixel margins. So if you preview the site and scroll down, you're going to see just about everything is lined up right here or right here. So all the images, the text, just about everything is lined up to the same margin, as well as using these design separation elements that we placed in. We used it in multiple places. We only used one font, but we used variations of that font. So we used a more bold one here and then like a light one for the paragraphs. And then we only used black, white, and this nice kind of tannish gray color at the very bottom. So we kept the colors, the fonts to a minimum, and we made sure everything was consistent. So those are the fundamentals of web design. You can basically play around and do whatever you want. Just make sure everything seems consistent and the placement of everything looks really sharp. Now that you have designed your website, you're not 100% done quite yet. Now you have to optimize your website for search engines. I do have a tutorial of that on my channel, and a little card should be popping up right about now. And that will help optimize your website for search engines. So if someone is searching something particularly related to your website, they will be able to find you a lot faster and Google will recommend your website. But that basically wraps it up for this tutorial today. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you found it useful, please press that subscribe button and like the video. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you all in the next one.